This week on Inside the Headset, we are featuring West Georgia head coach David Dean. In this episode, Coach Dean shares why he loves coaching in the state of Georgia, highlights how he builds a positive team culture within his program, and shares his personal experience with the AFCA. But first, a word from our sponsor. The Werner Ladder AFCA FBS Coach of the Year Award is the oldest award given by the American Football Coaches Association and embodies the nature of respect more than any other award in the game of football. Every coach who believes in the power of football to build better men knows the value of the game. Only a tiny minority of coaches can scale the heights to achieve true excellence. To make the climb, great coaches know they need help from a great team of players and assistant coaches. It's one of the primary reasons Werner Ladder signed on to sponsor the Werner Ladder AFCA FBS Coach of the Year Award in 2019. As a world leader in ladder manufacturing, Werner knows what it means to support a champion's climb to the top. Werner Ladder AFCA FBS Regional Coach of the Year voting opens November 15th and runs through December 3rd. Active AFCA members will receive an email from the AFCA offices with voting instructions the day voting opens. Once the 5 FBS regional winners are selected, those are the 5 finalists for National Werner Ladder AFCA FBS Coach of the Year, and that voting starts in the middle of December and ends the week prior to the 100th Annual AFCA Convention in San Antonio, Texas. For questions regarding Coach of the Year voting, please feel free to contact Vince Thompson at vince@afca.com.
Coach Dean, how you doing, man? So excited to have you on today.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Well, I know you're right in the midst of a spectacular season, so I will be short and sweet with you here. I just want to talk about your coaching journey just a little bit. It's extremely unique, and you've done a tremendous job on your path through and done some great things for the AFCA. So just wanted to talk about the fact that you spent a large part of your career at 2 historically successful programs there in Georgia. And majority of your coaching career, if not all of it, has actually been in Georgia. Can you talk a little bit about how special just the state of Georgia is for you and your coaching career and your family?
Well, I've spent my entire coaching career in the state of Georgia, and I've been blessed. The coaches, the high school coaches in the state of Georgia are very good coaches, and we've been able to recruit a lot of kids from the state of Georgia, and the reason is they come out ready to play college football. The coaches here do a tremendous job. Everybody knows about the talent in the state of Georgia, so for us to be able to go out and recruit those guys, it's been good. So I've been blessed to be able to stay in the state of Georgia, basically between 2 schools, Valdosta State University and the University of West Georgia. But grew up right outside of Atlanta in Decatur, Georgia, and went to Georgia Tech. And so basically I've spent my whole life in the state of Georgia.
That's awesome. Many coaches don't have the luxury to, stick around just basically because the volatility of the profession at times and just the next position might not be available. But that definitely is a blessing to kind of be born and raised and represent and do extremely well there, right there in your states. And I know it goes a long way having these long-lasting relationships with these high school football coaches regarding recruiting and all that good stuff. Now, it's no secret that you've seen a ton of success in your 30-year journey as a coach. What are some of the characteristics of your football programs that I know Valdosta and West Georgia, different locations, right? Probably a little bit different culture around the schools themselves and the programs themselves. But, what is something you try to do to establish that type of culture?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is surround yourself with good people. I've been fortunate to work with a lot of really good football coaches, had a lot of great football players that buy into the system that you're trying to provide and teach to these guys. But anytime that I hire coaches, I want to hire coaches that not only are good football coaches, but they're good teachers. I think it's important when you go out on the field, guys have to understand why are we learning this technique? Why are we learning this defense this way? Why are we running the route this certain way? And that's the teaching part of it. I can't stand when coaches go out and say, hey, let's reload that and let's do it again because John messed up. Well, John's looking at you going, what did I do wrong?
Right.
And that's not teaching. The teaching part is, here's what you did wrong. Your eyes were in the wrong place, or your depth was too bad, and those type things. So being a good teacher, I think, is a big part of being a coach. And what I look for is when guys get on the board, can they teach me some certain things that I don't know? But then the other thing is a care for your kids, care for your players. I want our guys to be able to come into my office and to our assistant coach's office and sit down and say, hey, I'm having a problem with this, and can you help me? Can you talk to me? Can you work me through these things? So, we want to kind of be father figures or big brother figures to these guys and know that they can come to us for help. We can't solve every problem, but we want to be there to try and help them. And then I think if you look at it from a player standpoint, bringing guys in from good programs that have been well coached, that have been successful, that know how to win, to know how to practice to win, that's a big key in some of the recruiting that we do. And the reason why we bring guys from successful programs in, they already know how to win. They're used to a playoff run. They're used to those things in the long season and knowing how to manage themselves throughout the long season.
Absolutely. I found that particularly interesting. I was a college coach myself at some point in time. One of my stops, we were all talking to each other about what we were looking for in the characteristics of our players. Me as a running back coach, I went through my list. And the quarterbacks coach said, all these skills, and then said, they have to win. He has to be from a winning program. And I just thought that was so unique, and I actually latched on that in the long run. And I saw success in quarterbacks that came from successful high school football programs. And it just always kind of latched to me. So that's pretty cool that you mentioned that there. Now, speaking of success, you had a really big game this past weekend. You knocked off the number one team in the country. And a lot of times, especially on this podcast, we have guests on and coaches on that are talking about, how do you overcome getting over the hump, taking over a bad program. Like, very rarely do we talk about, a really good team is coming into our building. How do we prepare? How do we talk to our teammate or to our players? Like, what are some of the things that you just your message to your team that week as they got ready to prepare for that game?
Well, the main thing that we talked about leading up to that game was this is a big game, but it's just another game.
Right.
Our approach is going to be the same when we go to practice. We're not doing anything different. We're not doing anything special. What we have been doing the previous weeks has worked, so we're going to continue to do the same thing. And the main thing that I try to tell our guys is don't play the game during the week. We got to learn what to do. We got to know our scheme, know our fundamentals going into the game. And it all, if we take care of all that, when you go into the game, it's just a natural for you.
Right.
But I think the big key for us is to not play the game during the week. Channel all of our energy to whatever the kickoff time is and be ready to play at that time. But the main focus that we talked about was our demeanor the entire week and game day, attention to detail throughout the week. One of the things that we talk about here in our program is little things. If we continue to do the little things correct, it continues to build and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so we were very harping on these guys all the time about attention to detail. Everything that we do, we got to do it right. And accountability, that's another thing that we talked about. But I think, the main thing is we kept it just as a normal week, didn't do anything special. Even though we knew it was a big game playing a number one team, we wanted to keep the routine as close to what we had been doing throughout the year as we could.
And so, Coach, I'm going to step back out to a little bit more towards your career now, focus on your career rather than a specific game. You took your first head coaching job at Valdosta State in 2007. You've been a head coach ever since. And, these are both historically good programs, high expectations. Let me rephrase that. What challenges do you find in coaching at historically good football programs where the expectations are always high for you?
Well, both the places that I've coached have high expectations, and I wouldn't want to coach anywhere else besides a place that expects you to win all the time. And I wouldn't say it's pressure, but it's it's on your shoulders that you must do well. And I think both the communities that I've had an opportunity and the pleasure to coach in are both like that, and I love that. But it also gives you an opportunity to recruit very good football players. When you establish your program, it's a lot easier to recruit. I mean, obviously facilities take care of a lot of things in your stadium and all that takes care of it. But it's the people, like we talk about, that you surround yourself with. When they come in, they realize this is the reason why they're being successful, because they're good people. They're people that care about us. They're the people that are going to do it the right way. And that's kind of what we have been able to do. When I took over at Valdosta State in 2007, I was on the staff from 2000 to 2006 under Chris Hatcher. And it was kind of an easy transition. I had recruited a lot of those players that were on that team. So when I took over, it was just a natural progression for us. It was a little bit different when I got here because I had not been here for 14, 15 years and taking over from a program from someone else. The culture change, I think, was a little bit different. Our kids bought in pretty quick, and we had some success pretty early, which was good. And I think that all goes to the fact, again, surrounding yourself with the people who buy into what you're trying to teach and what you're trying to get done and what you're trying to accomplish.
Coach, let's shift gears one more time before I let you get back to it for this week. First, before I talk too much about the AFCA, to all the coaches listening, go look around your football offices. Look on the walls. I guarantee you're going to find this picture of it's a FCA, AFCA initiative, that a photo that's on a lot of walls in football programs. I remember seeing that as a player. And that number 18 holding the football, that little guy, is none other than Coach Dean sitting in front of us right now. So, Coach, tell us a little bit about how that happened, where you were, all that good stuff.
Well, that was taken at Black Mountain, North Carolina at an FCA camp. My father was one of the original board members in the state of Georgia for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And every year he would go to Black Mountain and serve on the committee up there. And I would always tag along with him. And actually, my brother was at that camp at that time. And basically, I just ran around to all the teams and watched everything that was going on. I always had a ball in my hand. I happened to have a football in my hand that day and was running around the football field. And I remember, it was a long time ago, but I remember thinking, man, I wish I could do this. I look forward to that and being able to play, and I wish I could play with these guys. But I just happened to stop when they were forming a huddle at that time after one of the games. And Gary Warner was a guy that came up behind me, took the picture, came back and told my mom, said, I got a great picture of your son. That jersey I still have.
Oh, wow.
Obviously does not fit me anymore.
That's right.
But I still have that jersey, have a lot of fond memories. It's very nice to go into high schools and see it up on the wall. I have it in my office, and there's a title up underneath that says influence. Mm-hmm. And to me, it reminds me every day what our job is as coaches, is to influence young men.
Yes, sir.
And to help them grow and become great men and great fathers and great husbands and great community leaders. So I've been very fortunate that the FCA has used that for, gosh, I don't know how many years now, probably 50-something years.
Yeah.
But it's kind of humbling,
right.
But I love being able to talk about it and what that picture means. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to my family. And I appreciate the FCA continuing to use it.
Yeah, and it means a lot to a lot of coaches around the country. Like you said, it literally sits next to my office and my desk in my office, and that influence, the power of influence, is something that's huge in the AFCA, and it is a constant reminder of why we do things. You're a 26th member of the AFCA. Why has it been so important to be involved in this organization over your career? And what are some of the benefits that you've seen personally in your involvement?
Well, the one thing that I have enjoyed about the AFCA is the camaraderie with coaches, not only from Division II, but to Division III, the FCS, the FBS. Everybody has the same goal in mind. And, we've got great leadership in the AFCA for many, many years. And it's been a pleasure to be a part of it, because I think they're doing it for the right reasons. They're doing it for the reasons that we all try to do in each one of our programs. It's for our players, it's for the kids, and having them have an opportunity to have a tremendous experience, not only being a student, but being a student athlete. And I think the AFCA has all of that in mind. And that's one of the reasons that I've been a part of it for so long, and I've been on a lot of the committees that the AFCA has had. They just do it the right way, and it's for the right reasons.
Absolutely, Coach. Well, before I let you go, I do want to put this part in here. It's actually going to be the 100th convention this upcoming year. So 100 opportunities to get down, get better, rub elbows with your peers or your friends that you don't coach with anymore, things like that. And what's pretty cool for you is you've been to over 1/4 of those, so that's a pretty amazing feat within itself. So even if you kind of repeat some of the stuff you just said, what does that mean? The 100th AFCA convention. What does that mean to you?
I didn't realize that, but that's pretty amazing. And I think of all of the chalk talks that I've been to, the buzz sessions that I've been to, and what I've learned. What I've picked up at those conventions is truly amazing. Great seeing, old friends that you probably coached with several years ago and coach against, and have an opportunity to sit down and talk with them, not in a competitive nature.
Right.
It is always a lot of fun. But, it's like I said a minute ago, the AFCA doesn't, it's not always the Division I guys that are doing these buzz talking, and Division II and Division III and NAI junior college, they all have great coaches that have great minds and great ideas. And the AFCA allows the smaller schools to be able to share their ideas. And that's always great. I think anytime that you can pick up something, and that's how I've made my living, is learning from other people. There's no right way to do things. You're always progressing. You're always learning. And that's what you're asking your players to do. And that's what these conventions are all about. Not only seeing your friends, but learning new things and how people run their program and how people do certain things is always great to be able to pick up and do those.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, once again, it's a blessing to be able to get a little time out of your busy week, and thank you so much for what you do for the young people. Not just this season, but I mean for such a long time, been such an impactful coach, not just in the state of Georgia, because I know you have athletes that have come from outside of Georgia, but you've just been so impactful in that state. I mean, that's amazing, and really the AFCA is about pouring into these young people, and you definitely exemplified that in your career. So we much appreciate it. Best of luck along the way.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset. If you heard anything on this episode that you would like to learn more information about, head over to afcapodcast.com, where you can find every episode and all of the corresponding show notes. While you're there, take a second to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, please let us know by sending an email to podcast@afca.com. Make sure to follow the podcast on Twitter @InsideTheHeadset and tag it when you share each episode. You can stay up to date with all things AFCA by following the @WeAreAFCA Twitter account. Every episode of Inside the Headset can also be found on your favorite audio streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. If you are not currently a member of the AFCA, be sure to find us online at afca.com and apply to join over 10,000 NFL, college, and high school coaches from around the country who are striving to be the best they can be. With an AFCA membership, you gain invaluable access to the annual AFCA convention, the bi-monthly magazine, and the new and improved digital library, which contains thousands of videos and articles contributed by hundreds of current and former football coaches. You can also visit afcainsider.com to sign up for our free weekly email newsletter on the right-hand side of the screen. It comes out every Tuesday at lunch and is filled with great articles and stories written by many of the same coaches you hear on the podcast. It's geared to help you become a better coach tomorrow than you are today. Be sure to connect with me on Twitter @CoachMarioPrice, and remember, the AFCA is not just an annual convention. It is an association that continually promotes education, guidance, and networking. But it is also so much more than that. The AFCA is about celebrating the past and educating the future. It is about developing great coaches who will produce great teams and even better people. So invest in your skill set and impact today by engaging with the AFCA.